Cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant, just try to be nice. For hate there is no space, don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the polls. Don't hate, but create. Trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the polls. Don't hate, but create.
Hello everyone, we have Derek Farmer back again in the channel. How are you, Farmer?
I'm doing great, Cryptex. How are you doing tonight? Thanks for having me on.
It's cold here in Canada. It's really cold, freezing.
Yeah.
But
oh, yeah.
Yeah, man, it is what it is. This is Winterland.
Yeah, and you same deal, I have a I'm watching this dog right now, and I'm sure that neither of us, unless you're into this sort of sadistic punishment, would probably choose to leave our structures. Of course, I work outside every day, but today I just happen to have off. I want to say hi to your listeners tonight. Hello to the Cryptex crew. It's good to be back on. It's been a couple days, couple hours, but all good things come full circle. Even if that circle meets far up north in Canada, and it's good to see Cryptex again. And I'm doing fine. I'm freezing my balls off, Cryptex, to be honest with you. Excuse my language, but I'm living in an RV in a soybean field. RVs are not meant for wintertime. Of course, it's been a rough year. I had to downgrade, from what we call a stick-built structure to a, but at least I'm close to the Indiana border, which is where this wonderful unit was probably made originally back in 1996. Go ahead, Cryptex.
Good. But at least, do you have a good isolation from the outside? Are you warm inside?
No, I'm living in a chicken coop, basically. No, it's terrible. No, I'm a city boy, Cryptex. I've lived in a house my whole life. I just went out before the show and hand pumped water in the middle of a fucking soybean field. Okay, I am freezing out here, and I'm not sure I'm going to make it. But beyond that, please, let's talk about the Marathon gas station.
Let's do it.
Hey, Cryptex, you've seen the movie The Shining, right?
Yeah, of course.
You have seen the movie The Shining? Yeah.
Well,
I feel that I'm going to end up looking like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining, in the maze.
Maybe Jack Nicholson looks better. Just kidding.
No, he does, definitely, yeah. It's rough. It's not good on the skin, this cold weather.
Let me say hello to the guys here. We have Christopher from Australia. So, of course, he's not suffering of cold as us.
Looks like he is. His icon looks like a good reproduction of a Hunter S. Thompson moment, I will say. Christopher, good on you.
Exactly. I have the same impression. Jenny,
drugs on the Barbie, as they say in Australia when you're Hunter Thompson.
Jenny's here talking in Spanish. Hola, Jenny, how are you? And and there are other people that are gonna show in the chat soon. So after that catastrophic event, so maybe 1 year ago, I don't even remember, Farmer.
It's been about a year. Yeah.
something like that.
What if it was maybe 1 year exactly? That'd be pretty synchronistic, but I'm not sure exactly. But it was it's been about a year, yeah, since we've been together, but we have been back channeling, of course, communication for some time, and I think we've been
Exactly.
honest about that. And you've been in my chat, I've been in your chat, and I'm really glad that that I think it's a good example, Cryptex, honestly, for the environment of the online whatever online community that we're sort of shaking my table there, whatever online community we're sort of part of, to not just take pot shots at each other once something happens, to then get into a defensive position, right? Because when we do that, we're blocking everything else out, right? When we're in a defensive position, you're just lashing out. You're lashing out at anything, And I think it's a good example, not just an example, but it warms my heart to be able to sit here next to you tonight, separated possibly by a national boundary, but at the very least, digitally speaking, sitting next to you, it feels very warm, and already I'm warmer than I was before we went on the air. You may hear my teapot whistling. I must go pour my cup of coffee. I will be back in less than 30 seconds. My apologies.
No problem. So, how are you, sister? Thank you for being here again after that live streaming that I just did a couple of minutes ago. Jenny, The Shining was filmed in Oregon. Really? I didn't know that. Okay, so good information. Yeah, awesome movie, awesome filmmaker, Stanley Kubrick, one of the best for sure, and awesome actor. That was great. Farmer, you took 31 seconds, so it's unacceptable.
Well, then you can fire me.
Yeah, exactly, Peggy. 2 in 1 day. So it is what it is. So yeah. No, just to finish.
And can we explain before we and I'll let you talk after this, Crypt. I apologize. I just want to explain quickly. And by the way, I don't even have comments pulled up. You'd be proud of me. I'm gonna wait for you to just put them up, and we're gonna do it the right way tonight. But it happened very organically, me coming on tonight. Now I never nap, first of all, never have time to nap, but it is so damn cold in here, and I had 1 day off, and I climbed under that heating blanket, and man, I was out. And I woke up and I just saw that you did this show. So I hit play, the show that you did earlier on the Marathon gas station, Lost Evidence, which I've always found to be highly interesting, right? And along with other anomalies, such as several lost interviews, we can go over all that stuff. But so I just wanted to let the listeners know that this was not a planned sort of broadcast between us. It was very organic. It happened literally within under an hour. I took the dog out to go poop. I grabbed some whiskey, and here we are. Let's rock.
Let's rock. So yeah, and not only, I would say that not only the live tonight was very organic, but the whole situation since the date we have that streaming like 1 year ago, as you were saying, the things were like getting better little by little, and in a very organic way, I would say.
Yeah.
So we're back here. So that's in the past, and it's good to have.
So where are we taking the direction today?
Exactly. So let's since you were talking about the Marathon gas station, and you said that this is a subject that is very interesting or highly interesting for you, and I would like to know your opinions or your perspective about that. Maybe let's start with that, Farman.
Okay. Yeah. So as you guys may or may not know, the Marathon gas station was formerly called the Shell on the Hill. Now you will notice in the podcaster who Cryptex was playing, I can't think of the guy's name that you were sort of reviewing his podcast or commenting upon it. He said the Marathon up on the hill on the right hand side. So we know if it was called Shell on the Hill and that guy just said it's up on the hill, that we're probably talking about the same gas station. The interesting thing, and and I'm not tying anything to, I'm just going to throw out some what we call marathon quickbacks. Okay. So that marathon then switched hands, or that Shell on the Hill switched hands to Marathon a few years, let's say, before the murders, right? I don't know exactly when, but when Keegan Kline was in high school, it was still Shell on the Hill because, and this is rumor mill sort of rabbit hole stuff I've gathered over the last 4 years of just reading. You know how it is, Cryptex. Things can kind of trigger memories of things that you read maybe 2-3 years ago. And it just made me think, that something I had read and heard about was that Keegan Kline was indeed friends, personal high school friends, with the son of the owners of that Shell on the Hill. Now, my question would be, Crip, why is he Googling the location of that and saying he's never really been to Delphi? Do you remember that whole line, like when he was talking to the police, like, oh, I never, Delphi, where the fuck is that at? Like when you're from a small town, and I can say this now more definitively, since I live in the middle of a soybean field on the Indiana border, all the little towns in between, because you want to know where the pizza's at, you're going to need gasoline. And Cryptex, you live in Canada. Now you live in a big city, but you go a mile any direction out of that big city, you're in the middle of some fucking who knows what, and you better stop at the nearest gas station to fill up or get your supplies, because it's going to be 20 miles before you hit another one.
Yeah,
okay?
no.
So that kind of stuff. So I find that interesting that he would then go on to say, when they ask, why did you Google it? Because he didn't know where it was at or something, and I never go to Delphi. I think that's completely wrong. I think he was seeing maybe what kind of resources, which brings me into point 2 about this marathon. What kind of resources does this marathon have at the store location? Now, something I researched a few years back that was actually brought to me again by someone you mentioned earlier and someone who was my number 5 interview. And that's Justice Serb Daily, who did a ton of amazing broadcasts on the Delphi murder investigation, in my opinion. She's amazing and continues to call out Indiana shitbags to this day. But she had done a broadcast. I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. It was a second anomaly in the, what was I talking? Oh. Well, it got me researching what could be at this gas station, right? That's special besides Slurpees. I've worked at a marathon. That was one of my last jobs before where I'm working now. We sold minnows, yada, yada. But guess what we had inside the store? We had a Bitcoin ATM. Now, is there a tie-in? I don't know, but it does keep things anonymous. And I can say that through my research. Hi, Boston Christian. Through my research, that marathon was one of the first 1,200 Bitcoin ATMs in the entire country. So, maybe, and now when I worked at the marathon for the few months, as Boston will be able to tell you that I did, the only people I ever saw use the Bitcoin ATM were people that mistook it for an actual ATM. And my very first day on the job, Crip, a guy puts his ATM card in a Bitcoin, it gets stuck. It won't release it. And he looks at me and goes, I'm going out to my truck to get a fucking axe and I'm getting my card back. And I go, okay. This guy's going to take an axe to the machine. But this is the kind of people, and as you can see, I just got home from a Ron Logan lookalike contest, to which I took 3rd place. But my point is, does that have any tie into it? By the way, all you have to do for any marathon clerks out there is unplug the unit from the wall. It will release that card. Go ahead, Cryptex.
No, you said a lot of things, so I'm going to try to go step by step.
I don't know if it's relevant.
Maybe. Every single detail here could be relevant. One of the things you said is, why was Keegan Kline looking for that address? This is a great point.
Also, and it just, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting. I'll let you go after this, but it just does bring it back to, why did he search? Remember the ski mask incident? He searched that address of people he supposedly already knew. Why go on and search those things? Does that lead us to believe that possibly someone may have been using Keegan's phone?
Good point. I think that he was looking for that address because the Marathon gas station was a point of a meeting point. In my opinion, he went there to meet someone. It is a a bad
How you doing, Mr. Steve?
situation that we don't have that surveillance video material because that's the proof to demonstrate that Keegan Klein and who knows who else was there at the time. When you
Right.
said that was Keegan Klein in Delphi before or not, I don't think we have documented evidence. There are rumors. I don't know if you remember that one of the rumors was that, and this information comes from Skip Johnson. According to Skip, Keegan Klein and Daniel Pearson, they used to play basketball in Delphi at one point. So there's a potential connection between Daniel Pearson and Keegan Klein in Delphi. But there's no evidence about. But I don't have the evidence. According to Skip Johnson, that's a fact, but that's his opinion. That's his information.
Yeah, I love Skip, but I'm not. Unless Skip has video of that, I love him to death, but
Exactly. The other thing you were saying, I lost my thinking.
Oh, Bitcoin.
Okay,
Bitcoin.
you were talking about the resources. I don't know if the Bitcoin ATM machine is relevant or not.
Sure.
I don't know. But what I remember, and this is another rumor, is that the girls went to the Marathon gas station, Abby and Libby, to buy some Gatorade or something like that. So I don't know if there was some type of stalking situation as well at that point.
Now, see, that's not what I heard about the Gatorade. I've heard of the Gatorade, but it wasn't the girls buying the Gatorade.
So
and that's part of the rumor mill. I don't know if I want to say who, but a family member, I think, was buying the Gatorade.
A family member?
I thought,
okay.
Yeah, and I don't really want to because it's so far from. Look, I just want to state too also, I'm not part of some free Richard Allen party. I think Richard Allen is where he belongs. My only question has always been, what other circles of shit are going on at the same time? And maybe not even who else is responsible for the murder of Abby and Libby, but now like a health inspector who finds a major violation in a restaurant, I want to go down the line and ding them for every little thing. And if that means finding drug rings and sex rings and illegal this and illegal that, then that's all part of it. So that's part of the investigation. Go ahead.
Yeah, me too. I'm like in the same line. I think Richard Allen is involved, but I'm convinced, I'm positive that Keegan Klein is involved as well. As Steve is saying here in the chat, from Richard Allen residence to the Marathon gas station is less than a mile. So you know that in my opinion, or in my theory, Keegan Klein gave the name of Richard Allen after the confession of at the Grissom Air Force Base. So to me, there's a connection between both of them. When Keegan Klein confessed, in my opinion, he gave Richard Allen to law enforcement. That was part of a negotiation here. And when we see the geographical location of the Marathon gas station, Steve is right. It's less than a mile from the residence of Richard Allen. I know it's not a popular opinion here, but when I try to connect the dots, to me, the picture becomes clear at one point. And there's no way that Keegan Klein was not involved. And I actually believe that Keegan Klein was there the day of the murders. And that's why he was looking for the address of the Marathon gas station. I think there's a big possibility that he was there. The fact that he was communicating with Libby the day of the murders, that adds to the...
Well, okay, you say he was communicating. You say he was. Now, do you mean Keegan Klein personally or the profile he created? Because again, there's going to be that digital footprint, but it doesn't necessarily lead back to Keegan Klein if someone else is using that account.
Yeah, but when in the transcripts, when Vido is talking to Keegan Klein about that communication, the way Keegan Klein answers to that yeah, to that sentence, it's like he is remembering that he was talking to Libby at one point. Also, there's the other element that we can add to Keegan Klein being there the day of the murders, and that's the famous sentence. Libby was supposed to be there, but she never showed up. So you have that sentence, you have the Marathon gas station search in Google, and you have the communication with Keegan Klein and between Keegan Klein and Libby the day of the murders. So to me, it's really unlikely to say that Keegan Klein was not there. To me, he was there. Again, to me, he's the mastermind of this crime. There's an involvement of Richard Allen. I don't know what's the extent of his involvement. If he's the killer or he was helping, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I think. And it's really suspicious that that video, that surveillance video is lost. And it's convenient for law enforcement and it's convenient for the defense attorneys. So it's like convenient for everyone here, even for Keegan. So that was part of my streaming a couple of hours ago, let's say.
And quick point of note, when it comes down to that video evidence, are we breaking that into a two-part screw up, for lack of a better phrase, in terms of first losing the actual files that they were given and then actually toasting at a different point the hard drive? Because if we're dividing it into two, mistakes, I think that draws, again, that microscope a little bit closer on something possibly bigger.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about that, Farmer?
Okay, so initially, right, they're going to get the video evidence from this gas station is given, my understanding, digitally to them either on a stick or a card or a digital file. Email, right? Okay, they then lost that. They then had to go back and get the hard drive itself from the gas station, the physical hard drive, in which case, after they analyzed it, they toasted that. Would that be considered two separate fuck-ups, for lack of a better phraseology?
Good point. Anyways, they fucked up. And the thing is, today, we don't know who was responsible for that destruction. We don't know if it was the FBI or if it was the ISP, because they are finger pointing one to each other, and today is not even clear. According to the deposition of Jerry Holman, Josh Rossi, the brother of Brad Rossi, was involved in that accident.
I saw that, yeah. I didn't know that until I watched your video. It was a really good video earlier, and I was really I didn't even have time actually in between our to watch the entire thing, But I was digging it, Crip. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really weird, and it's weird that we learned that during the deposition of Holman. It's just weird because it's Rossi interrogating Jerry Holman, right? And it's Rossi who is asking for that. It's like if Rossi wants Holman to talk about that, to talk about his own brother. So that interaction is just, I'm still trying to make sense of that, because Rossi is saying, okay, tell me what was the fallout between the FBI and you guys, the Unified Command. It was related to the Marathon gas station. How so? Tell me about that. Apparently the one who fucked up with the video extraction of the Marathon gas station was your brother, Josh. And Brad Rossi says,
I know. It's been a lifetime thing,
That's the story of my life. That's the way Brad Rossi
story of my life, yeah.
To Holman. It's just insane. It's insane. Let me read this comment from Steve. As a former law enforcement, having a suspect Keegan Klein searching Marathon and the convicted offender Richard Allen living less than a mile needs further research, of course.
right.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just common sense. And probably Steve would admit too that we don't know how much of that research has already gone on behind the scenes. There may be either a wrapped up investigation or one underway or maybe nothing. Thanks, Gina. But I will draw back to an earlier quite nefarious sex ring out of Iowa involving a young man named Johnny Gosh, who disappeared back in the early 80s as a paperboy. It has all these other implications involving John Wayne Gacy and a real estate agent out of Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and Fox Island out in Lake Michigan, the St. Joseph School, and a bunch of other stuff besides that. There was a guy that was one of that was initially a victim of this pedophile ring, and then went on to perpetrate the crimes with them afterwards, apparently. Now, he has since died in a plane crash, but before that, he was busted in a Chicago office with a Rolodex, and I can't think of the young man's name. Maybe Steve knows what I'm talking about specifically. It's quite a rabbit hole, but these things do happen. There was a bust at this office that had a Rolodex, and the FBI had possession of this Rolodex, which apparently had some pretty high up names in it. And much like Epstein files and other things disappear. So we know that his story.
I don't know if
at least within terms of the American government and most governments throughout the world, that the people in power, if it involves something nefarious within another circle of people that have power, will do everything they can to keep that shit covered up. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. There's a comment here from Jenny. She says that there's no contact between Keegan Klein and Libby's phone that day, according to Michael Osbrook. So that's an interesting
comment. Who's Michael Osbrook?
He's a lawyer who is really close to the defense lawyers of Richard Allen, to Baldwin and Rosie.
Okay.
I get your point, but we have to dissect that situation in different elements. First of all, Vito, he testified under oath during the process, and he said to McClelland, he said this: Keegan Klein was communicating to Libby the day of the murders. So this is Detective Vito stating that during his deposition. So that's an official information. So according to Vito, who testified under oath, there was a communication between Keegan and Libby the day of the murders. This is in the transcripts of the process that were recently released. First thing. Second thing, the cell phone data of Libby, there's a lot of data that is missing there. The extraction process of that data was not properly conducted by law enforcement. And if you watch the interview that Tom Webster did to Andy Baldwin last week, that was one of the points from Baldwin itself to defend his own conclusions. He said, there is a lot of data missing from Libby's phone, so we cannot get to any conclusions here. So if you have Andy Baldwin saying that there is data missing from that cell phone, how can you say that the communication between Keegan Klein and Libby was not part of that information that was missed again magically? Because everything seems to disappear magically here in this case. But at least we have the official statement from Vito saying that communication occurred between Keegan and Libby the day of the murders. But it's a good comment anyways.
Yeah, it's I don't know. And I don't know also if any looking around from the metadata from just their living environments. I don't know, Cryptex, you're probably a lot better versed in the actual trial itself. I just was going through a rough time at the trial moment personally, and I really didn't read any of the transcripts. I mostly just watched a show here and there. I really didn't broadcast about it, to be honest with you. Up until a certain point, I feel like kind of an elder statesman when it comes to this. Once we get to the trial portion, I know nothing basically, you know, but I don't know what my point was. Go ahead.
No, you were talking about the transcripts and what happened. During the.
Was there any metadata at all available or that came out from either of the girls' households that could have showed perhaps just socially who they were mixing it up with and this kind of thing and that kind of thing? I mean, is that something that gets looked at? I'm just curious. Maybe the data doesn't have to come out if it's not relevant, but is that stuff looked at? I don't know if that even comes out in court. It seems like to me, without watching the trial, that a lot of questions weren't asked by either side. It seems like a lot of shit went by the wayside, you know, leaving gray area. I think we were all hoping for this sort of definitive, the trial is over. They proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Richard Allen acted alone in this crime. You know, again, I think he's where he needs to be. I think he should have the death penalty, be honest with you. And the difference, Cryptex, by the way, between life in prison and actually doing life in prison is a little phrase called no parole. When you get life no parole, that means you're not going out. Or, to my understanding, in the federal prison system, you do that hard time. Like when you get 20 years, you don't get a range. You get this much per conviction, and you do it to the day. So when you get 20 years in the federal pen, you're there 20 years. There's no good time, in other words. It's not a state-run prison. I could be wrong on that. Mr. Steve will be a much better authority to correct me on that. But I think, generally speaking, that's how it is, unless a deal is made post facto.
Yeah, so to come back to your comment, the whole data report from Libby's phone is available. There are interesting things there. One of the, I don't know if it's of course it's relevant, but I think no one is talking about this too much. But the last person who contacted Libby, according to the data report, the cell phone data report, is someone called Tyler. There's some Tyler guy who contacted Libby. I don't know, maybe in other channels they were digging more about that, but I don't know who that Tyler guy is. She was right, Jenny. I don't see any communication between Anthony Schultz and Libby. But again, as even Baldwin said, there's a lot of data that was not present in that report. Something wrong happened also during the extraction of that data. So I don't know if we have 100% of the information there or we are missing something. Again, we have the statement of David Vido during his deposition. And you were saying something about, I forgot. What else were you saying, Farmer?
My brain is switched. I don't remember my middle name, Cryptex. What?
I wanted to say something about your comment, but it was a long comment.
I know I yammer on so much that it's hard to once it spews out, it's hard to retain, you know. So I've already formulated like my next three thoughts like a chess game, but I have to remember we're not playing chess. We're talking, and so being able to review what I've just said is important. Thank you. I'll note that for our next interview.
Yeah. Anyways, I lost my point here, so let me go to the chat.
Sure.
Gina Bina is disagreeing with Farmer. That hurts for a man. There's plenty of doubt. The facts and okay. It's hard to read your comment. Maybe it's me, but I get your point.
I think what she means is probably my death penalty comment for Richard Allen. My point is, in the state of Indiana, Murder 2 calls for any crime leading to the death of anyone while you're committing another serious nefarious crime is eligible for the death penalty, and I'm a fan of that.
I forgot. I remember now what I wanted to say. Sorry. You were saying that there were a lot of questions that were not asked during the process by the defense and by the prosecution. But you have to remember that the judge, she didn't allow the defense to use the third-party suspects during the process. So they couldn't talk about the clients, they couldn't talk about Ron Logan, and they couldn't even talk about Odinism. So that's why there's a lot of questions that were not asked during the process. I think part of that situation is responsibility of the defense, because they were focused in the Odinism theory before the process, and they didn't push the clients or the Ron Logan's strategy in the case. And I think it would be easy to prove a nexus when you focus in the clients or in the Ron Logan's angles to bring that suspects into the process, but they were not interested in doing that. So at the end, that's what happened. They went full Odinism theory. They didn't care about the clients, about the Ron Logan angle, and the judge said, oh, you have no nexus here. You cannot talk about that during the trial. So that's why a lot of questions that we wanted to have asked, they couldn't do it. And
sure. That's a good valid point. Yeah.
To come back to the comment of Gina, she was disagreeing with you, and I agree with you in the sense that me too. I believe that Richard Allen is involved, but I wouldn't vote guilty during that process. I agree that there is a lot of reasonable doubt. One thing is what I believe. Another thing is what I would do in that process. Because, again, we don't know the whole story here. I actually want to have that appealing process to be successful, to try to obtain more answers in this case.
And I think it is worthy of noting, people say all the time on the other side, they say, well, if he's innocent or if there are others involved, why hasn't he rolled over on someone? And like was explained to me, before the appeal process plays out, why the hell would he roll over on someone and say A, B, and C were there with me? Because he's only shooting himself, in the foot for his own appeal process at that point. Now, once, I'm actually ask you, Cryptex, this question. Once the appeal process is done, whatever happens, if there are others involved, and Richard Allen knows about other details, do you at that point expect him to come out with it?
Can you repeat that? Would you expect to what?
After the appeal process has been exercised and exhausted.
Yeah.
Whichever way it goes.
Yeah.
If other actors nefariously speak.
The sound is cutting. I think you're frozen.
This crime and Richard, and one, I don't know. I think the signal went out. I guess what I'm saying is, after the appeal process is done, and do you expect Richard Allen to talk about any details he hasn't thus far?
No, I don't think so, because it's not going to help his case anyways. He's going to be behind bars the rest of his life. What good would what would be the benefit for him to go and talk about other about his involvement in the case? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, possibly a Supreme Court appeal. I mean, there might be another appeal process down the road then where it could help him with that leverage.
I think it's unlikely, but who knows, man? Who knows? I think when someone is going to push for an appealing process, is because they're selling that the situation is that he's actually innocent. So I don't think he's gonna change the whole strategy. So at the end, it's gonna be like a harakiri for him. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Well, I ask your opinion. That's your opinion. Okay.
What I think it may happen is that the new prosecution team, let's say, they're gonna ask hard questions during that appealing process that may generate the outcome of another actors being involved. So I'm just speculating here, but I don't know, man.
I don't know either. I mean,
if
I don't know either.
If the defense team in that appealing process are going to be able to generate reasonable doubt for other actors being part of the crime, I think those names would go to would come to the surface. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying here, but
no, it does. I mean, you would think that it would, but I'm saying in my mind, what if Richard Allen is holding out some information basically that he knows that could sort of break something open wider, but that also implicates himself in this crime, right?
Exactly.
Because he was part of it.
Yeah.
How does he come out with that? Well, after the appeal process is exhausted, maybe he just comes out with it to write a book and make money like everybody else. You know? Okay. I mean, John Wayne, they allowed John Wayne Gacy to sell fucking paintings from prison. Disgusting clown paintings. I hate clowns.
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? I don't see it, but we don't know, man. Let me see here in the chat.
I mean, to me, stranger things have happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Because one thing's for sure, up through this point, what have we heard from Richard Allen himself from behind bars? Have there been any interviews? Have there been any leaks? Is he still alive? Is there any communication going on? You see what I'm saying? I mean, Christ almighty, look back at Charlie Manson. You could see a million interviews of him going crazy in different jail cells and talking and doing interviews. You see what I'm saying? So what is Richard Allen going to say when this process is exhausted? I find that highly interesting.
But I think he said a lot during the interrogation with Holman. He stayed adamant in his story, let's say. He never changed his story for a bite. He said what he was asked. He was providing answers. So what else would he gonna say during the trial? I don't know. I know that you are thinking that he may tell the actual situation. Let's say
right.
If all people were involved, but the only thing we know about Richard Allen is what he said during the interrogation. So the strategy for
I'm posing the question, what's he gonna say when this process is exhausted? That's only speculation, but he will have shit to say, I bet you. And it's going to come out in the form of some, communication, digitally or something, but interviews will be done. I mean, he's going to get paid after this is all done by probably networks to do interviews. That's the sad truth. Now, I don't know what Indiana's laws are in terms of profiting while you're in prison for murder. Hopefully they're strict. Indiana's pretty strict on things. So maybe it'll go to maybe it can go to a charity fund or something, or buy some macaroni and cheese or something for the guys at the jail. But I don't know, Cryptex. I'm just saying, I think it's something to keep an eye on. For one, when it comes to, because we're not getting any new information from official sources, really. I mean, there's been a ton of documents that have come out, but I feel like there is something still underneath all of that.
Now, of course,
that hasn't made the light of day yet. Otherwise, I wouldn't be even bothering to sit here talking about this case with all of you. And I'm not saying, and I don't want to get onto the Richard Allen guilty, Richard Allen innocent side. I'm fine letting the process play itself out there. My focus still, where did Libby meet the Anthony Schatz profile? Well, we know with an interview that somebody did named Aspen Connor, and an interviewer named Derek Farmer. Hi, that's me. I'm the host of my own show. That she met that Anthony Shots profile at a slumber party. From who? It was a bombshell. Don't Hate Create did a whole video on it. From the roommate of Keegan Kline and friend one. There were 3 of them there. Okay? His name starts with a C. I don't know his last name. But it rhymes with Bamarin. Bamarin.
Yeah. There's a good comment from Steve. Anything Richard?
Oh, you want me to read it? I want to read one. Let me read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
From True Crime Web, Steve says, anything RA says from this point forward is from the mouth of a convicted felon and will always be weighed in that context. I've witnessed this on numerous other cases. Of course, Steve. Anything he says. But if stuff that he starts saying starts meeting other nexuses and data points along the way, Steve, wouldn't you say that that would then give him some validity, at least in his felonious information? You see what I'm saying? If it's just mere bloviation on his part, that's what it'll be recognized as. But if he starts coming out with other things and things that can be cross-corroborated outside of that system, I think it would give it a certain je ne sais quoi, perhaps a quality that not all felons would have. What say you, Steve?
Yeah, good point. I don't know, man. One thing that I really want, and I repeat this a lot here in my channel, is I really want to know the confession of Keegan Kline at Grayson. I want to read that transcript. I want to watch that videotape. That a lot of answers are there, and it's really weird that we don't have that material. So I think that there's a lot of answers in that.
Well, wife Lilith certainly thinks there's something there.
What is it? What is it?
I said wife Lilith certainly thinks there was something within that that interview process. That was Keegan Kline's girlfriend. We know that. She's around here on these channels. You know, she's given some validity to that. And then let's not forget that there was a whole news report done with a young girl, underage at the time, I believe, that Keegan Kline had met where? At Riley Park, right? And had threatened to bleed out because she brought her friend with her. So when you talk about patterns of behavior, patterns of abuse, if that's true. Now, I know also that people have said he's way too greasy and scared to leave the basement to come out to do anything. You know, basically besides, you know, have some online action. Well,
I'm losing you again.
But hang on a second. She's being, you know, she was very thorough. The interviewer was thorough in their questioning of her. She sounded legitimate to me, that young girl, during that interview process. What do you think, Red?
I don't think that she knows all of the information. I think that only Keegan and Holman and McClellan, they know what Keegan said during that interrogation process. Again, it's just really weird, or not weird, it's just really coincidental that the Wabash River search was the outcome of that interrogation, and that Richard Allen was arrested right after the end of the search of the Wabash River. So if there was a negotiation between law enforcement and Keegan Kline, which is my theory here, is maybe it's because of that we don't have that transcript or that videotape interrogation. You know what I mean? So maybe we're never gonna know the information. Something that is gonna remain sealed, and yeah.
Well, that's one of the benefits of one of the benefits of doing the interrogation on a federal Air Force base. You know, you don't have to. You're not subject to FOIA, probably, or maybe you are. Look, I don't know, but I would have another question. And now that we're kind of talking, just sort of outside the box again, you look at the ski mask incident, right? Where here you have 3 to several days, depending on the report, up to 7 after the murders, where someone in a mask with the Anthony Shots profile has now talked to the girl where Libby met the Anthony Shots profile, if I'm not mistaken, or a separate girl altogether, underage high school girl nonetheless, arranges to meet them. Girl's coming home from school on the school bus and notices a guy in a ski mask looking through her window after she said, "My parents won't be home. Let's hook up."
Maybe
okay, and then you can't even, and then there was no FOIA request for this, and people said, "Well, it involves minors." I have a legal question then. Now that everyone's not a minor anymore, is that, if that's a real incident, is that now FOIAble if it's not any part of an active investigation? Question mark. I'm asking the audience. I'm asking you, Cryptex.
Why do you say that today no one is underage?
I wouldn't think that anyone in the ski mask incident from 2017, because remember, Frank Meister tried to FOIA that document that showed that the police went and had an interaction with this teen girl about this incident, but nobody could find any information on it, yet it was being reported on the local news, not online, but on the hard news, right? There are whole news reports about the ski mask incident, yet there's no report.
Farmer,
yeah.
Allow me to be skeptical about anything coming from Frank Meister.
It's not from really Frank Meister. This is a report that's on the news. He's just one of the people that tried to FOIA the documents that weren't available.
He's too close to the families and everything that he says.
But no one. Okay, fine. Forget about Frank Meister.
His research is very biased. So
I'm not talking about. Yeah, but that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm saying there are no documents available on this incident. Forget about Frank Meister. There are no documents available on the incident called the ski mask incident, yet it was reported on the news. And when certain creators, forget about names, tried to FOIA that information, they said there's nothing there. And they said a reason for that could be active investigation and or involving minors. Well, if neither of those things are true, is that information now FOIAble? That's all I'm asking. I posed the question. Forget about Frank.
I don't know the answer. But what I think...
Well, maybe someone in chat does.
What I think about the whole ski mask incident is that that girl, they knew too much about the crimes. And the crimes were trying to hurt or to harm the girl.
Yeah. What happened the next day? They flew to fucking Vegas or drove to Vegas.
Exactly.
Not after the murder, after the ski mask incident is when they went to Vegas. Yeah. They were pushing their luck at that point, right?
100%.
They're pushing their luck.
Or maybe they wanted to stall her cell phone, because we know that there was a very important cell phone data connecting the Anthony Shots account with Libby. That girl was like a third point of contact, let's say. So they wanted to do some damage to that girl, or they wanted to stall her cell phone. That's what I believe. But I don't know.
There's a pattern, though. But there's a pattern, because just before that, in a town called Galveston, not Galveston. Galveston's in Texas. Galveston is in Indiana.
Yeah.
And there was a very similar ski mask incident. And when we look at TK's history, and from being a teenager all the way up through being an adult, sadistic, nefarious behavior of a weird kind has been going on for decades. People know it. He's a fucking creep. And I just think there are just too many anomalies in this whole circle of shit.
Yeah, no, of course. This is full of anomalies for sure. Peg is saying that
Shooting kids with a BB gun.
there were many
Someone ought to
girls
take his
talking
ass
to the
out.
Anthony Shots account, of course. A lot of girls. And not only to the Anthony Shots account, to the Emily Ann account as well. And not only girls, boys. Because, and now that you talk about the ski mask incident, this is an indication or a confirmation, I would say, that the modus operandi of Keegan Klein or the Kleins was not only to obtain nudes from the underage girls in those catfishing scenarios, let's say. As the trooper from Indiana State Police said during the announce of the Anthony Shots stuff, he said, "We are looking for someone who is trying to contact the girls to obtain their addresses or to meet with them." And that is in the same line of your thinking or your comment, Farmer. Remember that Keegan Klein went to the Galveston Park to meet Kyla, and he was pissed because she showed up with her girlfriend. So the myth that Keegan Klein is just someone behind the cell phone or behind the computer, that's a misconception that's still in the mind of everyone here. But
and that also says to me
was different. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say quickly that psychologically, that tells me that Keegan Klein only feels like he has a chance with a perhaps sexual counterpart if he has them alone and in some way can leverage that chance, because it sure ain't going to be from charms or looks. Go ahead.
You know what? How can I explain this? I don't know if people see Keegan Klein as he was or as he is. He was not that dysfunctional. He had a girlfriend, an actual girlfriend. He was not the idiotic guy behind the computer. He was able to function outside that computer, that cell phone. He had a girlfriend. He had friends. He had even if he was trying.
He had a social life.
Exactly, and he was meeting people, and he was looking for the addresses of his victims, and he was meeting his victims. Galveston, Ski Mask, Libya at the Mono Heights Bridge. The guy is a creepy guy. He's not the morbid character that is in the mind of everyone behind a computer. It's a big misconception here. But anyways, it is what it is. Let me go to the chat again.
I don't think he's a fucking genius, Cryptex. I'm sorry.
He's not a genius, but he's not that dumb.
No, you're right. No, I'm right. He's not. Whoa. No, you're right. He's functional. He's very functional, but I mean, I don't know. It seems like a lot of people that don't work for a living just do very selfish things all the time. They just have too much damn time on their hands.
Yeah. And
you have to busy it up with a job or several jobs.
And he was working in the dark web. He had a business. Yeah. But the guy, yes, not a genius, but he was not stupid at all. And,
no, he's the kind of guy sitting around drinking double deuces, smoking doobies, trying to figure out with his buddies playing video games how they can rip somebody off and get away with it without having to get in trouble, and how to make money without having to get their fat asses off the couch.
100%.
Yeah, that's right.
Still, investigative notes many times have rabbit holes that may or may not be related to the crime of interest. Just scrolling down here.
That's an interesting point. I mean, I'm not sure if what Mr. Steve is saying, but I'm going to just to tell you what I think he's saying. And that is, you can make rabbit holes out of anything, basically. When there's an investigation going on, there are going to be some points that aren't thoroughly led out to the end because they can see early on it's not part of that particular investigation. So maybe they put it aside or something. You're opening up a rabbit hole. because there's no finality to that investigative sort of tributary, if you will. Am I wrong, Mr. Steve? I don't know.
So Kelt, let's wait for the Steve's answer. Kelt is saying he was working for a living.
Yeah, he was a photographer. Yeah.
He was making money, for sure. And not only making money, sending money to his victims. He was sending money to Libby, remember that. And not only to Libby, to the other victims as part of his modus operandi to obtain their addresses. That's what the guy was not stupid. So
sure,
he's talking to a girl.
Okay,
right. I'm gonna send you some gifts, and remember that transcript with another victim in a separate case, in a CSAM case not related to Delphi. I'm gonna send you Victoria's Secret shoes and clothes, but to send you that, you have to give me your address. And the girls, of course, so the guy was obtaining addresses of his victims. So he was not just interchanging nudes online. Peggy is saying, yup, farmer. I don't know why, but feel good, farmer, about that. Scrolling down. Okay. Peggy, the safekeeping happened after the arrangement and after he stated he wanted legal representation. Also, he had an attorney. I'm a little bit lost in the chat, guys. Sometimes your conversations are too early, so sorry for that.
I'm banned from reading the chat on Cryptex's show, so I have I'm having a great time, by the way. First time I've never actually read the chat. I could care less. It's wonderful. I love it.
No, yeah. Okay, so
I mean, I like it when you put them up, though. I like to read them, though. You're not letting me read them, but all right. I mean, I wasn't thinking about it.
Okay, so if we come back to the initial discussion or conversation, so we were talking about the Marathon gas station. Was there anything else to say about that Marathon gas station? We talked about the accidental destruction.
Yeah, there's a glaring rabbit hole, a big gaping rabbit hole in that Marathon gas station. Did the person that had the video evidence or that had that so-called receipt for that Gatorade wind up dead within that same year?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was a girl.
Did that really happen? Question mark. And the Mysterian?
We were talking about that in the previous slide with the guys here. And I don't know why in my mind she died from a heart attack. That was I had as a recollection. But they were saying in the chat that it was actually an insulin overdose, which is really suspicious if that's the case. So, yeah, the other person that could confirm somehow if Keegan or other person of interest was there is deceased.
So that was a real event. Okay, answers that. Now, Steve here says, everybody wants to read Steve's comments. I'm going to butt in. The masked events are interesting and have the KK connection, but law enforcement may never have connected to RA as he may have an alibi for that date and time. Yeah, sure. Good points, Mr. Steve. But again, even if there's no tie to RA, I'm now interested in what's going on with these masked events. Are those two things related outside of the Delphi murders? I'm curious about that,
And I think there were more than two, because remember that in Mexico, where Keegan Klein was, not Keegan, Tony Klein was living at one point, there was also a
Tony Klein lived in Mexico or Peru?
In Mexico too, before. They were living in Mexico, then they went to Peru, and there was also...
Because Richard Allen's from Mexico.
No, it was not Mexico, it was Young America, Young America. In Young America...
Yeah.
There was a ski mask incident when Tony Klein was living there at the time.
Really?
So, yeah.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
Shit. What? Tell me about it. I'll shut up.
It's far away in my mind, but yes, when at the time Tony Klein was living in Young America, but this is he had like a big story of stalking women and stuff like that. But in that town, there was a ski mask incident.
And Tony Klein, don't forget, he not only stalked, but he then telegraphed that physically with a branch, a tree branch, through a window, lifting up the skirt of a young lady.
No, he was very violent, and the explanation
that'd
of
be called sexual assault today, by the way, in today's terms. Back then they called it window peeping. Isn't that cute?
Oh, he's really creepy, and he has a history of violence, and the justification for that is that he was bipolar. But I don't buy that. He was just
bullshit.
evil. And remember that the stepbrother of Keegan Klein was almost killed by Tony Klein in a bathroom. So
what? Wait, what?
Yeah, Bart.
What the hell are you talking about?
Of course.
What you talking about, Willis?
There was an incident between Keegan Klein's stepbrother Bart and Tony Klein. I don't know what happened at the Klein's house, and Keegan Klein, he hit the head of the child against the toilet.
Okay. Yeah, no. Okay, all right. You're talking about Tony when he was married to Keegan's stepmom.
Yeah,
he had the stepbrother and the stepsister. Yeah, well, there were two incidents, actually maybe three, involving those stepkids, which were Tony Klein's stepkids. They were the lady he was with kids, but they were Tony's stepkids, right? So in that incident, he broke the orbital eye socket of the stepson by smashing his head on the toilet rim and dunking his head in shitty water after he clogged it. Now they're going to blame the poor kid for having poor plumbing, some 1930s bungalow in which is like an oxymoron in terms when you're talking about on the beautiful banks of the Wabash. But let me say, and then also the young stepsister who was riding a dirt bike. And Tony Klein said, ride that bike or I'm going to basically, you ever watch an old Western where they pull it and they go, dance, 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 and they start shooting at their feet? So he shot the kid in the elbow with a BB gun, and she had to have a fucking operation at the hospital.
And
one time he made her climb a tree or something. She fell down and broke her arm or something like that too, I think. Something weird. So then also during that first altercation with the mom, and I think this is real weird. Think about it for a second. What did he do to the mom? He bit her in the stomach.
Yeah, this is a very weird paraphilia, let's say.
It's not the kind of resume that one wants personally.
There's something sick in his mind for sure. Anyways, he's having the time of his life in Florida, far away from Delphi, so good for him. According to Analyset,
what's that?
According to Analyset, maybe the ski mask incident makes no sense because the ski mask guy allegedly showed up just when the underage girl returned from school in broad daylight. But the murders of the girls were in broad daylight. Go ahead.
No, she's right. I actually made that point in the video with Aspen where that information came out. Part of that ski mask information that had never been out before came out during that interview. Hey, Mustang, good to see you. And that, to me, if you're gonna silence someone, if they're there to do actual serious bad stuff to this girl, wouldn't they have known when the hell the school bus would get home so they weren't the ones caught peeping in the window? In other words, what an amateurish bunch of bitches. And how, and then we have to look at the pattern. What happened then in this incident? I don't know about in Young America. And quite frankly, I don't know the details of Galveston, But how similar are that? And if no one's being, say, silenced at those other two, well, then maybe this incident had less to do with silencing and more to do with something else, is all I'm saying. But I think it was a real incident. The news stations were reporting this incident.
Yeah, me too. I think it was real, and in my opinion, it was to silence the girl, or again to steal her phone. And the point of Anna saying that ski mask incident happened in broad daylight, to me it makes sense actually, because that was the time when the girl was alone. They're not gonna do that during the night when the whole family is there. It's the perfect opportunity.
That was well, guys, according to the story, that was the prearranged time, right? When I get out of school, my parents won't be home. Let's hook up. Basically, let's have sex of some sort, right? Let's get weird. Okay, that's what they're doing. It's a hookup situation. My point is, and I think part of what Anna's point is, how amateurish of the perpetrators to show up before the school bus drops off the girl from school.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know.
Good point. Let me answer to Digital here, because she. I always thought that Digital was a guy and is a girl. So she says, how was it proven that Keegan Klein sent Libby money? I missed that. There are multiple, how can I say, testimonies about that. One of them comes from law enforcement. Remember the transcript of Keegan Klein? And the video is saying, we have the money, the Anthony Shots money account going to Libby's. So it's crystal clear in the transcript. They know that there was a transaction, a monetary transaction between Keegan Klein and Libby. He was sending money to Libby. In the other testimony, and we have the transcript, I have it for you guys in my community page. One of the victims of Keegan Klein, she said that she was receiving money from Keegan Klein, not from Anthony Shots, from Keegan, via the Cash App application. And that Keegan Klein was instructing her how to use the Cash App application. So the whole situation about Keegan Klein sending money to his victims is a fact. So, and again, he was sending money to Libby, according to the transcript of law enforcement and that interrogation to Keegan Klein. I know that you're gonna say, but law enforcement, they can lie. They can lie, but when you put things together and you have another victim in a separate case, in a CSUN case, and in the transcript, she's giving her testimony, saying that Keegan was sending her money via the Cash App application. It's just easy to connect the dots and to conclude that Keegan was sending money to Libby. And this is a huge part of this, again, to this crime, because we have a monetary transaction there. And saying that Keegan Klein is not involved, again, is like, how unlikely is going to be that? Okay.
I mean, to be honest with you, my approach to this entire situation in Delphi doesn't really, to this day, include Richard Allen. To me, that's pretty well settled unless he comes out with some new information. Like, I'm okay where that's at, whatever happens. But to me, there's still all these anomalies that stacked up, right? Like Doug Carter said, was that Italian sandwich head Vito? These things begin to stack. And it's like there are so many oddities with this case. And it starts right from day one, minute one, with the bridge guy video. So it's just like, and then it keeps rolling from there. You have these odd painted pictures that are being sent to reporters in other states from guys that are calling him bomb threats at the plant down the road. You have, hey, wife, Liv, sorry, without the teeth, it's hard to get those THs with all those L's in there, but nice to see a wife.
She's here for you because she's never here, but anyways, happy to have you here, wife.
That's very sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
So like, you know, but you can go on down the line through the years of like all these, you know, you know, and then you have that whole bomb threat situation, 2 bomb threats then being called in, you know, and then you have these other odd press conferences where the cops are saying, well, if somebody was supposed to be somewhere, but it turns out on that day, maybe they weren't lying, but they weren't exactly where they said they should be, or something prevented them from being where they needed to be. Then you look back at the JP interview with Sleuth Intuition, which I think is one of the most anomalous bits of information from a creator on the internet regarding this case, is that interview that he did with JP. I don't even know if he has that up online still, but it's what literally got me into web sleuthing, you know. And so
Julian Powell.
Sure. And yes. And that whole story, you know, but to listen to the actual interview and it's really, man, it gave me goosebumps on my goosebumps, you know. It was weird, man. And so you start putting all this together, and to me, it's like none of that shit. And we already went over that they didn't let the most popular theories into the trial, right? No Odins, no Kleins, no chance to form any nexus anywhere besides whatever their one narrative was, right? So that's what maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see all that come out, if there isn't all that. Guys, it's only speculation on my part too. I gotta be clear. I don't know a damn thing. I'm a pizza guy from Kalamazoo, Michigan, but I have a good sense on this case and consider myself somewhat of an elder statesman on the information, especially in an old school way, especially when you talk about the real old conspiracies, like that original Reddit post from the supposed hitchhiking underage kid who got a ride that night with someone who stopped, you know, somewhere and murdered a couple girls at a trail, you know, and then disappeared himself online the next day.
Yeah,
it's just all weird. And remember before, let's forget about Richard Allen. Let's go pre Richard Allen, before he's, you know, what was that, October of 2023 or 21? I don't even remember now when he was indicted with the crimes. 17, 18, 19.
Anyways,
I think it might have been 22 or 23, whatever. Yeah. So anyways, let's just go pre that a little bit. There were all kinds of weird things coming out. There were grainy photos of white Dodge Darts supposedly being taken by mothers of concerned teenage girls who are being brought home in abused conditions from nefarious gangs of satanic type sexual teenagers and weird fucking adults with drug addictions. All of this mixing together in this sort of sin soup, if you will, in the Delphi Devil's Triangle. And it's a very anomalous place, and I do believe there are so many connections. When you look at the old judge, what's that Who song? You know, hey, here's the new boss saying,
you're losing your signal again, Farmer. But
I don't think that's the case. I think Gull wasn't as the judge with the last initial of F, not the one that cheated his community. Whatever the one is that stepped down, and the reason he gave for stepping down before Gull got on there, I found to be cowardly. I found to be not what a judge. When he said there's too much, I forgot what his exact quote was. Help me out if you remember. But the previous judge who stepped down, Cryptex, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
This is before Judge Fouts. I mean, after Judge Fouts. Between Fouts and Gull, there was another judge.
Yeah,
and he stepped down.
I think it's Diener, his name. If I'm not mistaken.
Right. A Beaner or Diener or something like that. And he steps down, and because something about it's getting to be too much for him. And I go, too much? You send people to death. You were either appointed or voted in to do a job, and you have cut and run on your community. You should get no pension. You should be ashamed of yourself, in my opinion unless you have something to hide and wanted to recuse yourself from the entire process, bitch.
Yeah, no. When you said that the Delphi is a town full of anomalies, I used to say that Delphi is like Twin Peaks. It's like Twin Peaks.
It
Every
sure
single
is. That
character-
is a perfect example. Oh my God. You just nailed it. You just nailed it. Well, it's like any David Lynch movie, let alone the
Exactly.
series Twin Peaks.
Exactly.
I mean, name the movie. I mean, put on Blue Velvet. It could be Blue Velvet. It wouldn't surprise me to find an ear in a field, you know, and you're singing to the ear like, you know, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? And then, you know, you realize you're on LSD and you're watching a David Lynch movie and you're going, whoa, man, this is the best movie I've ever watched in my life.
It is. All of them. Look at the law enforcement. You have Carter, over dramatic. You have Lisenbay with his mustache. Is like it's Twin Peaks, man. And they are weird. YouTubers from Delphi, they are weird and creepy. And you have Anthony Grino, and you have even, I know you're friends with Frank Meister, but for me it's creepy and it fits in that Twin Peaks scenario. It's a weird town. It's a weird town and full of anomalies, weird coincidences. It's sad, but
it is.
It is what it is.
It's not just that town, it's the whole area. And when you have weird names like Young America, I'm sorry, it's just so odd to me. And it's just like, to me, when you look out west in a state like Arizona, where we know that, where I believe either Polynesians, Egyptians, or some kind of Indo-Chinese civilization was here thousands of years before Columbus. In the Grand Canyon, which is now blocked off and protected by government drones. And where also planes have crashed, many anomalies have happened, right? America's worst plane crash in the 50s happened at the exact location where the secret Egyptian cave is at that they found in 1909. Different story. What was my point?
Yeah, no. I got your point. I think we agree that I think we can agree that Delphi is like Twin Peaks. And
right. Yeah, Twin Peaks, perfect.
Yeah. Let me answer to this comment, and I think it is related to the monetary transaction between King & Klein and Libby. What was given in exchange? It is a great question, and I would like to know the answer. I think the first reflex could be nude pictures, could be that, but was there anything else? Is very interesting as a question. He was sending money to the victims. What was he receiving in exchange? If it was not only nude material, I don't know. That is a good question.
What about information on others, your own in your own circle? Okay, when we go back to the interview that I did with Aspen Connor, I'm sorry to keep bringing that up, but that never got the press that it should have.
By the way, and sorry, it's Twin Peaks again. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's no kidding. That story goes a little. Anyways, but well, I forgot my. Sorry, I get so excited. Cryptex, when I do put these things together in my head that they quickly fall off. But I'll remember in a minute. But go ahead, please bring up another point, or I could read some comments if you want.
Yeah, read this one from Veronica.
Okay, from Veronica Hush at Cryptex. It is sus Rick was arrested after Keegan did the creek search. I think that's when the missing sheet happened. Needed excuse for expensive search, which it was a roughly $1 million search publicly reported.
They're not gonna.
I don't know if that's true or not. But.
No. The only way for law enforcement to go to search the Wabash River was because Keegan Klein confessed that something was there. They're not gonna go to search the Wabash River during 1 month or more than 1 month and to spend $1 million for any other reason. There's no way about it.
And there's no way that's a training exercise, because they wouldn't spend a month in the same damn place. Every bend around a river has its own dynamic system. They would have been all over in different water features for that summer, learning different techniques for a water metal diving class. You don't spend the entire 30 days under the same overpass, guys. Come on. That's not logical.
No. And again, Veronica, just think about it, Cryptex. If Keegan Klein gave Rick's name, law enforcement wouldn't need a lost sheet. You are missing the point, Veronica, because if Keegan Klein gave the name of Richard Allen, it's because there was a negotiation there. He's not stupid. He said, okay, I'm going to give you the name, and you have to give me something in exchange. So, of course, law enforcement, they are not going to say, Keegan Klein gave the name of Richard Allen in public. They cannot say that. That's why they have to use the lost sheet narrative. That's the full objective of that shitty move. You know what I mean?
Can I ask a question? I don't mean to be rude. Perfectly. What is the lost sheet? I missed that.
Dan Doolin lost.
The lost tip narrative.
Tip narrative, exactly.
Oh, okay. Oh, of course I know all about that. I've done a number of shows with Cryptex on that very subject.
Yep.
And as Skip Jansen corrected me, not the most viewed show, but highly viewed in Cryptex's absolutely full catalog of great shows from the last few years. Any member will have full rights to those back shows. So join Cryptex's channel today, folks.
Thank you, Farmer. Same to Farmer's channel.
I don't have enough subscribers to I can't even get a super chat on my channel. But if you guys do want to, if a mod, I don't know if you have any mods. I'm not in the chat because I wanted to sort of honor the way that Cryptex wanted me to do this last time, and that's by not being mixed up in the chat. I wanted him to run his program and handle me the way that he wants, and that's what we're doing today. So if someone can put my channel up in the chat would be really beneficial. Shameless self-promotion now noted.
I don't have to handle you, Farmer. I think we have cleared the dynamic. It's fine. Annalizette is asking some good question to Wife Lilith. If you can answer, Wife Lilith, if you can answer, please do. And if I don't understand, did Keegan Klein give Richard Allen's name? So
there's no way she's answering that.
No, why not? Maybe.
No, I mean, we'll see. I don't have a mental telepathy with Wife Lilith, but right out of the box, I'm saying she's not answering that.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't know if she's still here or not, but anyways, it was a good question.
But I'd be thrilled if she would.
I don't see why.
Let's break ground. I like to break ground. Let's do it. Let's come on, Wife Lilith. Put up something we don't know. Put up something we've never heard.
Yeah.
Steve from True Crime Web. Sorry, I'm stealing every Steve comment. Training exercises are pre-posted in LE journals. LE isn't psychic and just show up for training on a riverbank. Not unless there is a good breakfast joint there.
I really love the comments of Steve.
Me too.
We are just YouTubers. We try to make sense of stuff.
I know.
But he was a crime scene technician during
sure
a lot of years.
Well, let's just go over his credentials. I mean, I don't know what it takes to be a Georgia Bureau of Investigations. I'm not sure if he had that affiliation, but he certainly was early on in the process of crime scene investigation. Involved in that process, he investigated crime scenes after receiving training for crime scene investigation and maintaining that training during the I would presume throughout his while he was doing that.
No, and
also at some point he was a counter sniper and a total badass. But beyond that, of course, he's right by saying things are pre-posted. I mean, they don't just show up with a bunch of dudes on a riverbank like they're making some kind of sexy calendar for the ladies, you know.
Exactly, of course. And you know, even if he is pro-prosecution, he doesn't buy shit. You know what I mean? He's still really mad or not mad. I don't know if I'm using the good word here, but it bothers to Steve the fact that the girls, they don't have defensive injuries. And he's still adamant in that position, and it's very honest from his side to say that. When you see the comments of Steve, you know that there's some things that are not adding up in this case, like the lack of defensive injury, something that is not yet fully explained. A comment like this one, of course, it wasn't a pre-training exercise. So, and he was involved in the investigation, or I think about 1,000 deaths, 1,000 murders. So he knows what he's talking about.
Right. That's so true. Great point, Cryptex. And also when he's putting these let's say these nuggets of information out there, they're exactly that. Like you were saying, Cryptex, we're just I don't like the word YouTuber. I'm an amateur broadcaster. I enjoy the art of broadcasting. To me, a YouTuber straps on some kind of GoPro and gets on their bike and just sees what wall they can bump into for entertainment's sake. I like broadcasting. I like to concentrate on my communication skills while I'm doing it. I'm not a great researcher. I work a lot. I live in an RV in the middle of a cold soybean field, so I'm living real life. You know, I just don't have time for the research, but one of these days I'll get back into it where I'm creating more original content. But until then, I really like, you know, this sort of setup where I can kind of pop on and do this. Anna Lizette saying, in my opinion, KK's Dropbox is being protected at all costs. In my opinion, lots of corners were cut and less than honest things happened. Less than honest things done, rather, to protect that Dropbox. And you may very well be right on that, because did any metadata on that Dropbox situation? And here's my question for the KK situation where he pled the sport a year thing that you were talking about earlier with the child porn charges and all that, or CP, whatever. I don't want to get you demonetized. It's sad that we can't say the real thing on YouTube because we're a bunch of little kids, but Cryptex, so, but this Dropbox, I guess my question would be, yeah, where's the metadata on all this stuff? Oh, and since obviously it was an active investigation, not FOIAble, you can't do FOIA requests when there's an but now that it's settled and he has his sentence and whatever, and I don't think he can appeal that. That's part of that settlement, right? You can't appeal it. You're just doing the time now until for good time. Maybe you get out sooner. Maybe you can appeal it after a certain amount of years or something. I don't know. But is it now FOIAble? And has anyone gone back to see what documents they couldn't get officially the first time because of an active investigation versus what's available now? I'm asking the question, not posing any answers. Go ahead.
That's a good question, Farmer. Let's see if the guys can answer your question here.
Yeah.
And I agree 100% with Anna Lizette, and that's my conclusion. The Dropbox, again, that's the holy grail of this investigation. That's the explanation.
I think so too. I don't know if it's a holy grail, but it's something.
Yeah, 100%. It was not.
I mean, Keegan certainly didn't deny it when they asked him in his interview, or said it in the interview. We know that you sent her money through this Dropbox. You know, I don't remember his response, but the only thing I remember eventually him denying was actually murdering them. You know,
no, he already admitted he was sending money through the Cash App application. The Dropbox was the way to share child pornography with his clients.
Oh,
and
yeah, I actually officially used Dropbox once. The one time I personally used Dropbox was because I had to send a video analytics expert named Scott Roeder my video from my phone, and we had to use Dropbox so that it wouldn't get hacked or messed with along the way. So I can tell you that it is a private situation.
Yeah. And what I wanted to say about that, I lost it again. I have another.
Vicarious Vigilante says that area needs to be the plot of a horror film. Well, if not a horror film, certainly like a to me, I see more of like a mysterious sort of noir kind of feeling, anomalous. Anybody ever watch the series? I think it was on Showtime called The Sinner. The Sinner. That's what the second series of that, because they would take one topic and do an entire series on this one show with a retired detective. Brilliant show. But the second one was all about this weird cult in Indiana from like hundreds of years ago with the same families. And like they all prayed to this 3-story rock. It's real fucking weird. And it really reminds me of that area. Yeah. God bless you, Delphi.
What's the name of the girl in the actress in that? Jessica something, I forgot. Jessica Biel? I don't know.
In The Sinner?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyways. Hello, True Crime Mona. Annalise said, stopped watching some creators when HTC imploded and saw how unprofessional some are. Yeah.
Well, you have to remember, Annalise, that not all of us claim to be professionals. First of all, I've imploded a couple times, but I think when you look at the implosion or the explosion, I think it's important also to note that after a certain amount of time, that if you can't come to your senses and either admit that maybe you were a little off kilter, pointing at myself, then maybe you're not truly wanting to improve your life, in my opinion. I think you sometimes do have to do that self-analysis, and some creators do implode. I know a lot of them, if they use it as a business model, maybe that implosion happens a little more dramatically, but I've always been free of charge every single day I've broadcasted. And until I hit 500 subs, when I can receive super chats and super stickers, which is all I don't see myself ever charging a membership. But if someone wants to throw something my way, I'm not going to, say no, but I'm not going to solicit that also. So,
yeah, solicitation is for other actors. Sistru is answering to Veronica because Veronica, she doesn't understand why law enforcement would need to use the lost sheet excuse if Keegan Klein gave Rick's name. And again, I think Sistru, she gave you the answer. It's just clear as crystal. It's a negotiation, and Keegan Klein was an informer or an informant. Sistru, I'm sure Holman said they searched it because of Keegan. It was public information, and law enforcement, the statement was that the search of the Wabash River was a direct consequence of the Keegan Klein's interrogation. And I have that.
And which is why we say that so authoritatively. We base that, at least I'm not going to speak for Cryptex, but when I make statements like, oh, it was based on this or that, it's because I've heard like not someone in their basement talking about it. Nothing against people in their basements. I'm in an RV. But I mean, it's been out there publicly, at least. Whether or not it happened, I'm not sure. I'm just repeating what is public knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't understand again, like Veronica. I'm not gonna explain again, and maybe it's because it doesn't help the theory that Richard Allen is not involved. But the explanation is clear. It's clear. They couldn't use that as a direct proof in court if there was a negotiation between Keegan Klein and law enforcement. That's the whole idea of that. It's really clear. I don't know why some people doesn't understand that, but it is what it is. Steve, you can read it, Farmer.
No, okay.
No. We already. No, sorry. This is repeated. No. Okay. I don't know why I came back to.
Well, because we just love to read his comments. That's why.
It's because I'm having trouble with my cursor and. Okay, let me. Okay.
Hi, Boston. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. And hi to wife Lilith. Trying to look and see who's scrolling.
They are talking. The guys in the chat. I don't know what is about the Waffle House. Okay,
She probably made a reference to a Waffle House being near the banks of the mighty Wabash.
Okay, this is from Lilith. You can read it, Farmer.
Okay, from wife Lilith, KK was pulled out of jail October 13th after Rick's interview and shown a pic of Rick and asked if that was his dad's friend. You want to reread it?
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that
she was there. I mean,
it doesn't make sense. No.
Makes sense to me.
No, because if they had already the information about Richard Allen before talking to Keegan, they're not going to go to search the Wabash River. Forget about it. The information came from Keegan to law enforcement. Is the way the situation makes sense. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Why does what was searched for in the river have to do anything with Richard Allen? Maybe it had to do with a third actor on this perpetration.
Because Richard Allen was arrested right after the end of the Wabash River.
Right, but if nothing was found in the river based on that information, then there was no lead to go that way.
It's not necessary to find something. They had the name. That's all they needed.
My close wife?
Keegan Kline, he gives the name to law enforcement. The guy is Richard Allen. So law enforcement, I know this guy. We already talked to him the first week of the murders. You're right, Keegan. And then he had a full polygraph. They know that he's telling the truth in some questions. So, okay, let's go to search the river. The outcome of that search is not significant. It is significant, but maybe they didn't find anything, but they had the name already. That was the important outcome of that whole interrogation search, let's say. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying here.
I know. When you lay it out like that, it makes sense, but I just want wife Lilith's response to what I said.
Yeah. Well, I think the polygraphs exist for some reason. So if someone is subjected to a polygraph, I would believe the questions that the polygraph is telling. There's a high possibility that these questions are, the answers to these questions are true.
Ed Shaboogies, let me just say, Ed Shaboogie says, I wouldn't trust anything Keegan told anyone at this point, laugh out loud. Yeah, but the point is when you're doing a polygraph test, that's their way of determining whether or not the information that he is transferring to them is truthful to a degree. Exactly. So whether or not, so if he's bullshitting, that's going to highlight on that test.
Of course.
Right. And if he's telling the truth, more importantly, if he's telling the truth with information, that also is gonna show up on that report. It's not always about the lie on a lie detector test, which is why we call it a polygraph. Go ahead, Crip.
No, you said the same thing I said. So the answer is the polygraph, of course. You said it in a more beautiful way than me, but.
And what about that other polygraph expert that was possibly murdered in a house fire? Different rabbit hole show.
Talking about Flora?
It was the female polygraph expert in the county of Carroll.
Yeah.
Was killed in a house fire with her daughter. Her husband was a judge. Her husband was a
Stephanie something? Yeah. Another fishy disappearance, no? You can read this.
Go ahead. You read this one, okay? I don't want to steal all of Mr. Steve's comments.
No. Go ahead.
All right, from Mr. Steve, True Crime Web. Only the Delphi offender knows how the girls reacted to his presence and attack. I know from my experience when facing more than one person, there is evidence of additional injuries.
Of course. It's the natural reaction of a victim to protect herself. 100%. 100%.
Right. Right. It is a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mr. Steve. I mean, it is something to think about.
Steve is the more
Hey, Jay, how you doing?
logical person in this whole community, for real. Digital.
Well, he's
Why
a real
was the
benefit.
Shank family honor bound to Ron Logan? Yeah.
What does that mean exactly? That sounds like a kind of a lead in there, Digital. No offense, but I don't know about the connection, and I'd rather approach it from a different angle than what was the honor bound to Ron Logan. I'd rather ask the question, what was their long-term local relationship? I have no idea. You tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was right. It was Jessica Biel. Thank you, Shibugis, for this. Wife Lilith. Go ahead.
You want me?
You're on fire, Farmer. You can go.
Sure, yeah. White Lilith answering. I don't know if she's answering me, but we'll get there. You can't overlook that KK told law enforcement that his dad came back through the cemetery on 300, muddy and bloody, long before anyone knew the Sarah Carbaugh seen a muddy and bloody guy. Come on.
Yep.
So what I said, just before Wife Lilith answered that, was perhaps what information KK gave might have involved RA or not, but in regards to the river search, may have involved a third party. And I think what Wife Lilith is saying is that she is certainly possibly agreeing with me. Wife Lilith saying if KK gave info, they would have had to use info derived from his info, not as direct info. It was a confidential meeting, just for your information. So a prearrangement on a federal Air Force base probably gives you different, after the county polygraph expert's been murdered in a house fire. So somebody's in the parlor with a candlestick, I have no idea, but it's one more anomaly in this case. Especially when you consider the other fire incidences around the area.
Veronica, I understand cryptex. It's I'm ditzy, but not dumb. Keegan Klein, even as a confidential informant, wouldn't need a lost shit. Yeah, you are not dumb, Veronica, at all. Actually, Veronica was here the other time and we had a nice conversation. She's great for sure. Steve, I also have questions of control and lack of defensive injuries. Exactly. I think we all have questions about it. We all have.
I mean, I didn't until Mr. Steve did. Now I do. Thanks a lot. Another anomaly. Put it on the list,
It's not just another anomaly. It's one of the major anomalies here for one single.
Look, I feel like I could come up with a scenario or two where someone wouldn't have a defensive wound, an attack from behind. Okay. What? A quick attack from behind. Let's say it was RA that did the whole deal. He's he can't look him in the face when he's doing it, so he just does it from behind, All right, just throwing it out there.
Theory. It's just statistically improbable, and in my opinion, physically improbable or unlikely. Anna, in my opinion, 3 people did the crime, and more know all about it. Keegan and Tony were not there, but 3 other men were. Who were they? Again, I think Keegan was there. But
said he was. Kind of not there, maybe. Didn't he say he waited in the Jeep like a good boy?
Yeah.
Waited for Daddy and his friend to do their deed.
Yeah.
Except you can pass a polygraph if you take a Xanax. You can pass right out too. Holy shit. I tried that once.
So now Keegan Klein is a genius that he's able to cheat polygraphs. I don't buy that. Polygraphs are good when they fit your theories, but polygraphs are crap when they don't. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. The fact that Mullins did polygraph scares the shit out of me, and they need to evaluate every single one that he has done. Wait, Mullins did the polygraph on the Air Force Base grounds? Is that right?
Yep. Wife Lilith,
Okay.
go ahead.
Sure, from Wife Lilith, I would personally say I believe KK gave them info that led to Rick, yes. But I don't believe he named him by name. But I do believe he gave enough info that RA was located, cough, cough, tip.
Yeah, makes sense too.
So what were they looking for in the river then, Wife?
Cell phone
What
or
item were
handwriting?
they looking for? Who were they trying to tie to the crime when they were in that river for a month? A third party or Richard Allen? I'm asking the wife.
She already said.
I think Polly is only good for a base point, but not to be used as the Holy Grail. I agree. I agree, because once they start using it for a Holy Grail, they're using it against you and figuring out how to make you fail it, so you go to prison the rest of your damn life. That's one reason that, it's just not 100% science, guys. It's like witness testimony. It's more of a and in fact, a lot of states, it's not even admissible truly in the court process itself. I mean, so I don't know what to say about it, but and there are ways to pass it, probably, if you know how to. I'm not sure how disciplined Keegan was in, his breathing exercises like a monk.
Exactly.
Something tells me he'd wheeze a bit. Something tells me he wheezes a bit.
Yeah.
Through the honey bun wrapper, but you know what I'm saying, though. It can be done, and he'd be the kind of weirdo. By the way, and Mr. Steve, who was on in my chat a few shows ago, we talked about a book that came out at some point. I guess I don't really know when it came out, but I happened to come across it as a young teenager, called The Anarchist Cookbook. And that Anarchist Cookbook had it was basically a book for terrorists. And the local news shop downtown was the only place that sold it. It was right up there with the pot magazines and the pornography. And I think but you could buy the Anarchist Cookbook if you were a kid. You couldn't buy the pot magazines or the pornography, but the terrorist shit you could buy. But this was like a hardbound book, and it just reminds me, Keegan reminds me of the kind of guy that would have been sitting in his room playing some kind of bullshit, role-playing games, reading the Anarchist Cookbook and figuring out how to pass a lie detector test. I could see him putting that in practice. He's not stupid.
No, and when Veronica's...
I'm not saying he could do it. I'm not saying he could do it, but I bet you before he went to that polygraph, he's read somewhere on how to trick a polygraph. I guarantee you that.
I don't think Keegan is able to trick a polygraph.
I bet he read about how to do it. He might not be able to do it, but I bet Wife Lilith could go on there and be like, yeah, that's some shit he'd read about.
And when Veronica is talking about the Holy Grail is applicable to the Dropbox. So Holy Grail equals Dropbox. That's the answer.
I think she's saying more generally, in any case, it's not the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Law enforcement relying on a polygraph. Oh, go back for a second. I was reading that.
Sorry, what?
Oh, yeah, I was. There was a new comment. Oh, yeah, there we go. No, not that one.
Poly?
No, next one after that. It's okay if we miss it.
Okay.
You shouldn't be on a jury, Lilith. This is the one by Belly Mayday. Law enforcement relying on a polygraph from Keegan Kline tells us everything about these Keystone Cops investigatory skills. I mean, yes and no, Belly. I mean, it's also just one more tool in the tool belt. Again, a way to glean information and maybe take and actually get through that information, some hard information, and that's where that search, I think, erupted out of. What was found there, if anything was found, again, I'm not sure. if that information has come out.
100%. Just scrolling down. Steve, I would always. Go ahead.
Okay. I would always trust the following in this order, with first being most accurate weatherman, a magic 8-ball, and a polygraph. And none of those are great options, right, Mr. Steve? So the weatherman being the most reliable, but that magic 8-ball, that's right, more than you know.
Okay.
I might have moved to Alaska based on one of the answers from one of those magic 8-balls, but I drank a lot of beer like Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh back then. I really liked beer.
That's what I said, the murder weapon and a cell phone. Yeah, exactly. That's what they were looking for in the Wabash River.
Thank you, White. And by the way, thanks for being so candid tonight, Wife Lilith. I mean, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot at all. I certainly don't want to be rude or anything like that. I actually really appreciate your participation. I know Cryptex does too, and I'm very fond of you. Thank you so much for the sort of local flair that you are able to bring to the table. Thank you. And she also follows up with, they've never found the second phone KK was using that morning. Mm-hmm. She always leaves crazy little clues. She actually would make some great little videos that creeped the hell out of me, by the way, Wife Lilith. You would make some on-the-spot videos like shorts, that would just tie together some weird text and stuff, and it would just give me chills. Anna Lizette saying, Wife Lilith, in your opinion, why can no one discuss the results of the search at this time? Holman kind of shuddered when asked about it.
Yeah.
Well, she's not on the panel, Anna. I don't know how to answer that.
The answer is the negotiation between Holman, McLeland, and Keegan Klein, in my opinion.
Ooh.
Okay. Thank you, Monday, for that.
Thank you. See you today.
Again, Veronica asking the same question. I know I get your point, but I hope you get my point. It was a negotiation. That's why.
Not making points. She's making a decent point there, though. My opinion.
Okay. So farmer is gonna be almost 2 hours. And
you sick of me? Are you sick of me, Cryptex?
No, not at all. I think this is a perfect opportunity to do a part 2.
Okay. Excellent.
No, I don't used to stream more than 2 hours. I really get tired. I have to wake up early, take care of my dog, last walk outside. So
I feel like we're almost living the same life there, but you may actually be in colder weather than I am. Did you say 22 below earlier?
Minus 25. Yesterday it was minus 28.
Now, is that Celsius? No, wait a minute. Is that Celsius or Fahrenheit? I mean, it's Celsius or American?
Celsius. So minus 28 Celsius is minus 18 Fahrenheit.
No way is minus 28 minus 18.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Now you have screwed us all up in America because we don't know that we don't know the C system. I always thought it stood for, I would always say, minus 20 communist, but I know that it stands for Celsius, and we don't know how far a kilogram goes in terms of pot weight or how long you have to run to do a half mile or a mile. We just don't get that shit. So we need to know in Fahrenheit, what is your temperature where you're at without doxing you?
About minus 20.
Okay. That's cold. That's very cold.
It is. So
be careful. You be careful. You got what do you got? A fire going? Are you guys allowed to have fires in Canada?
No. No, but I have the heating at home.
Yeah.
And good clothes and some drinks. So it's good enough.
Dude, your shirt, by the way, I really dig your sweatshirt. Is that one of yours or is that one you have purchased?
Purchased.
Yeah, man. I dig it, man. I contend Cryptex, if I somehow won, you know, like say 50 grand, and I was in Montreal, that you and I, best afternoon of shopping, that despite my rubish looks and rough, you know, appearance here in the on the Indiana border, that we would actually get some good a good shopping day in Montreal. God, that would be so great. Some of those French brands, you know. Anyways, I really dig that shirt. Do you have merchandise, Cryptex? I guess I have never been to your merch store.
Yeah, but I took it down because it was crap. So I'm trying to do something more. How can I say? Decent. There's my cap, Cryptex. So I'm working in something more professional. So yeah.
What about like you used to wear like a baklava or whatever, you know? What do they call that? The face wrap. You know, you just got one, it's just like boom, Cryptex, you know? I like that. I'm not saying I'm glad like the band Kiss, you know, you took off the makeup. We get to see you now. That's great. That shows a great sign of a broadcaster's maturity. But you know, those early shows with you wrapped up on the streets, you know, you were a real badass, you know. It was pretty cool. Mr. Steve saying, if I'm ever in Canada in January, I've been kidnapped and being tortured, much like Gene Hackman from oh God, what was that French the French Connection? Poor Gene Hackman woke up a heroin addict.
Yeah, no, but to answer to you, that was the ski mask I was using during winter time. So
it was always black. You always look like you were ready to, you know, climb into a tunnel system somewhere and find like skeletons and shit. Or I don't know, man. It was really I loved that. I love this more. But I think just as part of your early broadcasting stuff, people should go back and maybe check some of that stuff out too. It's real fun.
Like a Colombian ninja. Okay, man. I'm gonna stop here
with a great French accent.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I want to say thank you to your listeners. I'll do my farewells to Mr. Steve, to anyone that came over from my show, and mostly to you, Cryptex. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come on and sort of do this just sort of on the fly show. This is how I enjoy broadcasting. I don't like to put too much thought into it if I feel that I'm knowledgeable about the subject matter. So thank you so much. Have a great night.
See you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Farman. Stay in touch.
Thank you.